Yo, what's going on guys, Ian77 here. In today's video we're going to be playing the best Hog Mini Pekka deck in Clash Royale. Alright, hopping in the first match here, we're going to be up against this guy. So we do have Hog in our starting hand right here, and I feel like with this deck it is pretty safe to go with Hog first play, just as with normal Hog Earthquake. So this deck is a little bit different in the function than Hog Earthquake. You do have to be a little bit more careful with your cards just because you kind of have more specific uses for each card. Like you don't have like the Tesla in this deck and stuff, so you always have to save your Mini Pekka, and yeah, you kind of have to be a little bit more careful with your cards, but I feel like this deck has a lot of potential and just a really strong deck, and also pretty free to play friendly. It does have a couple legendaries in it, but I think you guys can probably level them up pretty easily, especially with like magic items these days. And I'm actually going to go really aggressive with Mini Pekka plus Ice Golem here, just 'cause it's actually a really good play against Golem decks. I'm like almost 100% sure this guy's running Golem, just because like nobody or no other deck really runs Night Witch in this meta, especially with like Goblin Cage and all of that. So should probably be a Golem matchup here, and this will be pretty interesting here. We don't have like a Tesla or like a building of any sort, but the nice thing about Mini Pekka is that it just applies so much pressure. So even though you don't have like quite as good defense against like heavy beatdown decks like Golem or maybe even like a Lava deck, you do still have like super good pressure, so they can't really go with those big beatdown pushes without getting heavily punished. So that's why this Mini Pekka deck is so good. Even though you might think Mini Pekka is a little bit worse on defense, it just like really makes up for it on the offensive end. And yeah, I'm just going to go with another Mini Pekka plus Ice Golem here. It's really important to go with Ice Golems in front of your Mini Pekkas as well, because even though the Mini Pekkas do a ton of damage, they are a little bit squishy. So whenever you have like a surviving Mini Pekka, it's almost always good to go with the Ice Golem in front of it, just to make sure that it gets as much value as possible on the offensive end. And he probably is going to activate King Tower here against our Hog Rider. It looks like he does get it off there. Okay, kind of a really bad Princess there by us. I wasn't really expecting him to defend that Fire Spirit, so pretty much wasted it. And yeah, so he's going to go with a Golem in the back here. I'm just going to pressure with Mini Pekka plus Ice Golem. So how you want to play this matchup is you want to like pressure with Mini Pekka plus Ice Golem first, then the Golem in the back, and then when you pressure with that right away, you can usually cycle back to another Mini Pekka by the time their Golem gets near your tower. So yeah, we're already back to another one here, and you might try to like tornado it or something away, but I think our Princess will help out a bit. And looks like he's just going to go with the Lightning here, but we're going to try to keep our Mini Pekka alive as long as possible by using like a really well-timed log and some good bats there to distract his Night Witch bats. So honestly, really good defense right here. He is up a bit of damage, but I feel like it's a bit of a better situation for us just because we have like two Princesses on the field already. So we kind of have really good field control right now, and I'm pretty happy with this spot here. Just going to go with another Princess right here. Yeah, so he's actually going to be forced to tornado it, so honestly really good for us right here. He's just going to Barbaro all three Princesses, so kind of unfortunate right there, but okay, I was going to say maybe we could outcycle his Goblin Cage, but unfortunately he does have so many Hog counters, especially with like the Goblin Cage in there. We can't really ever get too many Hog hits unless we kind of outplay him a bit, so might have to like make use of the Mini Pekka as well to get to his tower sometimes. But I'm just going to go with another Hog push right here. He doesn't have Goblin Cage in cycle, so might be a little bit difficult for him to stop. Yeah, so he is actually going to take one Hog hit there. I guess he kind of mistimed the tornado a little bit, and yeah, now we're just looking like we're in a really good spot right here. Like the really nice thing about this deck is that you have the Princesses, like it's just so good against decks that don't have log in them, especially, and even against decks with log, you can find good value out of the Princess just like playing it at the river. So even though they can log it away, they usually don't have enough like of a reaction time to log it away before it gets one shot on their tower. So Princess is really nice in this deck, and really just like allows you to have nice field control at all times. So that's really the main use of it. And yeah, he's going to defend pretty well here, but it is triple elixir now, so I think we might be able to cycle 2 rockets. And yeah, he's just going to go with the Golem at the river here, but we have a really quick cycle with this deck, not quite as quick as some other decks, but I think it is quite up there, and that is going to be a good game. Alright, hopping in the next match here, we're going to be up against this guy. So you guys may know this guy. I'm pretty sure he almost always plays Hog with Giant Skeleton in it, and he does have a YouTube channel of his own if I remember correctly. So you guys may or may not be familiar with him, but basically he's like a really good player with like this one really off meta Hog deck. So Gonna see which hog deck is better here. Hopefully we beat him right here just to like show how strong our deck is. And by the way, this Hog Princess deck is super off meta, so the nice thing about it is that pretty much no one will actually expect you to play it. So when I was playing this deck earlier on ladder, like before I actually hit the record button, I won like a ton of matches just from people thinking I had Hog EQs. They cycled like a bunch of cards they really shouldn't cycle against this deck just because they weren't expecting me to have the cards that I did. So the nice thing about it is just like the surprise factor in itself is just like really a big bonus of playing this deck. And yeah, so we're just going to kind of kite his giant skeleton around and really easily finish off his Hog Rider with our Mini Pekka right there. You can see like Mini Pekka is pretty good right here. Like it's always forcing him to spend quite a lot on defense. He does have a Skarmy, which is going to be pretty hard to like really take off the board in the future, but you can see like in a lot of matchups you kind of want to play this deck using like Mini Pekka as quite an aggressive unit, especially against beatdown decks, but against cycle decks you kind of want to rely more on the Hog Rider. But you do have like quite a few tools to get to their tower. Like you can always go with like princesses at the river, especially against cycle decks, and you can go with sometimes like Mini Pekka plus ice golems, or you can just like get hog chip damage like the old-fashioned way, or even you can just like rocket cycle your opponents. So you have like so many different ways to break through, and he's gonna go with the Hog Rider here. Honestly, probably not the best Hog Rider. Gonna kind of go straight into that Mini Pekka, and we defend pretty much flawlessly right there. So I feel like Rocket's also super nice in this deck. It really helps you out on defense. And I know some of you guys might ask in the comments down below if you could sub in Earthquake for Rocket in this deck, and honestly you really can. I feel like Rocket is just like such a big part of it. Like it really helps you so much on defense, and also is quite nice to rocket cycle your opponent's towers. So I would say you can't really sub out the Rocket, but I mean you definitely could, but it wouldn't be nearly as good. So if you have like a much higher level Earthquake compared to your Rocket, you could try out using it in place of the Rocket, but I would be a little bit careful with that. I might just like run the old-fashioned Hog EQ decks if I were to want to play Earthquake instead of Rocket, just because I feel like Earthquake doesn't synergize quite as well in this deck. But you can see like we're doing super well here, and honestly Rocket's really crucial to our defense in this matchup. Like as you can see right here, we have the Rocket to nicely counter his Hog Rider, but if we were running Earthquake we probably would have taken a ton of damage right there. So it is really nice to have the Rocket, and we're gonna get one Hog swing there actually. I think he could have went with like some other cards to defend our Hog Rider, but it probably would have allowed our Fire Spirit to splash his tower. So a really nice card in this deck is also the Fire Spirit, just like so good at getting chip damage, and it always forces out a response even just for one elixir. So there are quite a few really strong cards in this deck. I know like a few cards in the deck are off meta, which might make this deck seem a bit weird to some of you guys. Like probably most of you guys almost never play Princess except in like log bait or something, but it actually works really well in this deck, so I definitely recommend playing it. But to be honest, if you really wanted, you could probably try Firecracker in place of Princess in this deck, but I feel like it would definitely be a little bit worse just because like the Princess is super nice to get like chip damage when you play it at the river, so it really does help against those cycle deck matchups. So I feel like this deck is really quite good as it is, but probably the one card you could try to sub out is maybe like Fire Spirit. You could probably play like Ice Spirit instead of it, or maybe even Electro Spirit, but I feel like Fire Spirit's really nice against like Goblin Drill. I know it's really nice to like one-shot those goblins every time. So yeah, that's pretty much the use of all those cards. And he actually missed our Princess with the log right here. I guess he didn't expect it to move so quickly, or like to kind of move out of the targeting range. But yeah, as you can see here, we're pretty much always rocketing on defense against his Hog Riders. We do try to go with Mini Pekkas sometimes, but I don't want to be going with Mini Pekkas too often, because I know he's like a really smart player, so you can always like try to tornado away our Mini Pekkas if we go for them on his Hog Riders. So I'm kind of just being extra safe here by trying to go with these rockets instead. And this could be a little bit tricky right here. Honestly, his wizards are kind of really getting to us right here. I hope his wizard doesn't lock on our tower, and we're just gonna get a rocket down right here. And that was actually really sketchy there at the end, but I think this should be a good game here. Just have to make sure to defend the wizard, and yeah, gonna pick up a pretty nice win right here. Alright, hopping in the next match here, we're going to be up against Carl the Legend, so this should be a pretty interesting match here. He is pretty much the best Lava Hound player right now. I think the only Lava player better than him is probably Dominic. I'm not sure if you guys know him, but he's actually the player who finished #1 last season. So two really good lava players in those two. So yeah, it should be interesting right here. We do have pretty decent defense against his lava pushes. We do have like the ability to kind of like stack princesses and also like cycle bats really quickly, and also fire spirit's super nice in this deck, like to one-shot lava pups. So I feel like fire spirit has like a bunch of really nice interactions. So I'd say fire spirit's definitely the preferred spirit in this deck, but if you have it super underleveled, you could definitely try ice spirit in its place. And so yeah, I feel like in this matchup, we're going to have to really make sure to be very aggressive with our Mini Pekkas, but you guys have like some pretty good counters to our Mini Pekkas, especially like the Tombstone. We can never really break through it with a Mini Pekka, so just going to make sure I take it off the board as quick as possible using that Princess plus Log right there. And I think the way we can beat him is kind of by manipulating his cycle, like making sure he has really awkward stuff in cycle. So I'm just going to go with a Mini Pekka Ice Golem and a Hog in the other lane, and I feel like what this will do is it should allow our Mini Pekka to get quite a bit of damage right here. Unfortunately, he does go with the Fireball right there. I wasn't really expecting him to use it, but we still do get one Mini Pekka shot on his tower, so yeah, looking pretty good right here. That Mini Pekka shot that we got already put us in like quite a good lead right here, and we do have Rocket for his balloon as well, so even though you don't have like super good air defense, you have like really reliable units. I feel like it can always stack those princesses, and they usually won't be able to keep up with your cycle, so they can't really always fireball them down, and you can kind of get really good value out of them, and just by applying a lot of pressure you can make sure they can't really build up the pushes they want to go with. So I'm just going with the Mini Pekka plus Hog Rider here. I was kind of expecting to go with like a Mighty Miner, but I guess he may have not had it in cycle or something, or just didn't want to use it right there. But our Mini Pekka is going to get 2 shots on his tower right there, so maybe a bit of a over-aggressive lava by him, and just going to go with an Ice Golem here. Kind of messed it up a little bit. I made our first princess actually die towards the Mega Minion, but should be fine right here. I think Fire Spirit just going to really carry on defense against these lava pups, so I'm not really worried about anything right here. And he's going to go with Skeleton Dragons plus Lava, and it could be a little bit difficult to deal with these Skeleton Dragons sometimes because we don't have like a Fireball in this deck, but luckily our princess in the other lane was actually able to kill it, so yeah, kind of just have to be a little bit careful right here, just make sure we don't waste our Rocket, just we always have it in cycle for his balloons, and gonna prediction log his Tombstone as well, so yeah, looks like this will be a good game here against Lava, one of the best Lava players in the world. Alright, hopping in the next match here, we're going to be up against this guy. Not really sure what many of these people are playing yet. It still is kind of early season, but we are pretty much going to be #1 if we win like a couple more matches at this point, I think. So hopefully we can beat this guy. And looks like he will be playing a mortar deck right here. So honestly, it is pretty nice to have Ice Golem against mortar. I feel like Ice Golem's super good against mortar, just because you can like play it in the center of the arena, then it'll just like walk really slowly across the map and tank like quite a few mortar shots. So yeah, I feel like it's gonna help us out quite a bit, and he's usually gonna have to save his mortar for our Hog Rider, so you can't really go with offensive mortars too often. And as you can see, like right there, he spent his minion horde for no reason behind his cannon cart. I think he was probably expecting that I was playing the normal version of Hog EQ, but you can see like really how good the surprise factor is, because if he knew that we were playing this deck, like, he wouldn't have made such a bad play, and he could have avoided like pretty much most of that damage that we just got on his tower. But as you can see, like, almost nobody really knows of this deck, or like I think only like 1 or 2 people play this deck at top ladder, so pretty much no one is expecting it, and they often make like really funny plays against it, and you can really punish them for it and get quite a bit of damage on their tower. So I'm just gonna go with the Hog Rider right here. We do have bats supporting it, so if you went with a mortar, it would have dealt with it pretty well, but looks like he's just going to go with a minion horde right here. And we have a fire spirit, which is also really good against minion horde, and it's also pretty good against bats. I know this guy probably doesn't have bats in his deck, but it is kind of notable to mention like some of the benefits of fire spirit. And I'm actually just going to rocket his mortar right here. Don't even want to deal with it with an ice golem and stuff. Just want to save my ice golem for like his cannon cart and stuff, and kind of be a little bit more chill right here. Like, if you actually rocket a mortar quickly enough, you can prevent all damage, but you have to make sure you're kind of hovering your rocket, otherwise the mortar will usually get one shot on your tower. So you kind of have to learn interactions with this deck, but once you do, it becomes like a super strong deck. You really have to just memorize your defensive interactions primarily, and you should be pretty pretty well off with this deck. And I'm just going to go with an ice golem like really far to the side so it doesn't get pulled by the cannon cart in its building form right there. Otherwise it would have just like died really quickly. Alright, so looks like he's going to go with a minion horde right here. Not really sure why he went with it so aggressively because we do have Fire Spirit, which is going to pretty easily deal with it along with the Ice Golem Death Nova. And yeah, so I'm just going to go with the Princess at the river here. We don't really need to save our Princess just because we have like the Fire Spirit and the Ice Golem to kind of deal with his minion hordes. So we never really need to keep our princesses to counter his other cards. You can pretty much just kind of waste them on offense a little bit more just for chip damage and whatnot. And yeah, so you can see like bats are also really nice on defense. Like they always counter his mortars really effectively, and the only way you can really take them off the board on the defensive side for us is if he uses a fireball, which is like so much elixir. So you can see like also bats are pretty nice in this deck. You kind of have a good synergy. Like you have zap bait with the bats and you have log bait with the princess. So pretty much like no matter what spell they're running, they're always going to be kind of at a bit of a disadvantage against one of your units. Like you're always going to have one unit that they can't really deal with very well just because you have like a couple different baity options in your deck. Alright, so at this point we just need like one more rocket on his tower, so we're kind of just going to make sure we hold on for just a little bit more right here. He went with the mortar a little bit too high, so I think Mini Pekka should destroy that, and that will be a good game right here. Alright, hopping in the next match here, we're going to be up against this guy, so I think if we beat this guy, we should be number 1 in the world, so hopefully we do end up winning this match. I'm just going to go with the Hog first play here, see what he wants to do, see if he has a building in cycle. Looks like he does have bomb tower, but he also had to waste the bats. I guess he may have not had the bomb tower in cycle right away. And we're going to get 2 princess shots on his tower right there, so already looking like a really good place for us, because princess actually does so much damage. Like 2 princess shots does like nearly as much damage as a whole rocket. So if you make sure to get like that steady princess chip damage, you can kind of win games just off of that and like a couple rockets and whatnot. I'm just going to go with the princess right here on his bats. I could have went with the ice golem as well, but going with the princess there, he's going to be forced to like log our princess, so we got like a pretty nice trade right there. I'm just going to go with the fire spirit just to pressure a little bit, and he actually does mess up the wall breakers surprisingly. Yeah, so looking pretty good right here. Just going to go with the hog at 4 because I'm pretty sure he doesn't have any bomb tower in cycle or even really near that. So you can see like right out the gate we outplayed him super easily right there, just using our cards in a really good order and really pressuring him as well as we could in each situation. And that was a pretty bad set of bats by him right there. I think they're just going to get completely destroyed by the Ice Golem Death Nova, and going to predict his Golden Knight ability right there with our Fire Spirit. So super clean defense right there. I was kind of expecting him to punish us a little bit for being really aggressive with our Hog Rider, but got out pretty much unscathed. And now we kind of just have to like make sure we have tight defense at this point and just like chuck a few rockets on his tower. So yeah, this deck is really nice. Like if you can't break through against your opponent, you can kind of like pretty easily just like go with rockets on their towers and just defend super easily with the Mini Pekka. And the nice advantage over having like a building in this deck, like when you have Mini Pekka, you can also like defend and have like good counter push, so you can kind of be a little bit more free to like rocket cycle and that stuff just because you have like more positive elixir trades on defense. I feel like it will still have like similar defensive interactions as like a building would, but you also get that counter push, so technically they're gonna still have to spend on it, and it will still overall be like a nice positive elixir trade. So that's really the reason that Mini Pekka is quite nice in this deck. Alright, so he's gonna go with a set of wall breakers here. I think Fire Spirit should finish them off mostly. They did survive with like 1 HP, so one wall breaker did connect, but still looking pretty good right here. Pretty much flawlessly defending. Mini Pekka is also quite good against Miner. Easily will 2-shot it, and he's going to kind of waste a Golden Knight at that river right there, so I'm just going to go in with the rocket right here. You really just want to usually be a little bit careful with your rockets, but if you know you can defend well, you can try to be pretty aggressive with rocket cycling. And thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye!